Yeah, it reopened.
Oh, really? Oh, babe.
So the first thing you'll notice on this little tour is that the door opens, which it wasn't opening a day ago, so already progress, and a little less janky, because before you had to climb in through the, which I was kind of hoping would actually happen. But let's have Todd give us a tour of the great Tiger ProVan.
Welcome to my Janky. Now, actually by Janky Tiger ProVan.
This is a 1987.
That is correct.
Now tell us about the history of Tiger ProVan.
ProVan is a company based out of Colorado. They, for some reason, decided to set out to make Astrovan conversions their thing. And I think there's a few hundred of them around. Most of them are now back in the Colorado/West Coast area. They kind of were forgotten about camper vans, and then as that whole phenomenon has taken off in the last 7-8 years, these started to get more and more popular. Mainly because they're kind of like the anti-Vanigan, in that it's an Astrovan. There's 9 million of them around. Any John with a wrench that has an auto shop can work on them. They don't take funny color coolant. You know, they're just...
Yeah, so it's easier to work on, and yet somehow more obscure American version of the Volkswagen camper van.
Yeah, a little bit. It's not quite as roomy, I would say.
Let's go inside and see.
Yeah.
There's a beautiful full-size door here. Now the floor has been...
Someone else did this. Wouldn't, you know, not original. Depending on what they put in here, it would have probably been carpet the whole way through, or kind of like a vinyl product.
Okay. And so, but everything you're seeing here is factory. The shelves,
yeah,
the stove unit, the sink, the shower.
The only change that's been made is one of the previous owners backed this up to moved the box a little bit closer to the door to create a larger bed when this folds down. In doing so, I believe, if I remember correctly, the original had, I could be wrong, but I believe it had an option, it had a back on it, so that you could have a double-backed seat.
Okay.
So that, obviously...
So that just to give more space at this sitting area?
Well, so the way that this was designed is that you pull the table out, and then the table falls in between the two benches. And then the extra cushions can go across, or the back cushion can go across over the table, and you have yourself a little bed. And previous people wanted the bed to be a little longer, so they cut a piece of plywood that was a little bigger, a little wider than this, moved this over, and instead of using the table to put down when you have your bed, you put a piece of plywood down.
Gotcha. So then the table ends up being sort of like a extemporaneous piece. Like, where do you put the table when you're...
Yeah, I mean, in all honesty, I've spent very little time in this thing. I've read a shitload about them. I've seen a decent amount of them. But I bought this thing because it was a good deal. Couldn't help myself. And then I contributed to its downfall. You know, like, this thing only has 70-some-odd thousand miles on it.
With a recent full engine rebuild, correct?
Yeah, and so it's kind of sad because of how jankified it is, mostly from sitting.
Yep.
You know, and then some fools deciding to paint the outside. And then since I've owned it, it has mostly sat. I did some work to it right when I got it, and then wasn't really sure what to do about it. These have become very popular for people tearing out this whole reality and building their own camper.
So the fact that this is mostly original actually is a rarity.
It's not rare for, you know, buying one
a really nice one.
The way in which I did. But if you were buying one on the internet, this old, oftentimes you'll see them pulled out. You know, this was, I think, the first year that they made them, maybe the second. It might have started in '86. And there's two versions. There's this, and then there's a hardtop, which is...
Oh, I didn't know that.
Just has the cab over permanent on top.
And it's the high setting?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep, yep. And so, and I think they made them until... God, like 99, 2000, somewhere in there.
Oh wow, so getting into the second generation Astro.
Well, and then they also they started doing them on trucks. mostly American-made Chevys, Fords. I think mainly Chevys, and like big trucks, not Rangers and Tacomas and that type. Real pickup trucks. And they went belly up, I think, like right around 2008, and then they're back making like very expensive campers again now, mainly on truck
ProVan.
frames.
And they're is it the same ownership, do you know?
That I don't know. So there's like a bunch of generations of what they call the Tigers. And this thing I think is a Tiger GT, is what they call it, or an Astro Tiger. And then all the different variations up through the trucks all have different names. And as the time went on, they got fancier and fancier and fancier.
And but Tiger's the moniker for basically everything they make. ProVan is the company, and Tiger is the sort of the model.
Yeah, and they're like, I think one of them's called like a Bengal Tiger. And, So I have much less familiarity with the newer ones, but I had been researching these for a long time. I had no need for it when I bought it, really.
Sure.
But I saw it. It was in the sticks. I knew that if someone else got out there and looked at it, that it would get scooped up, and so I bought it for better or for worse.
Yeah. Now, what like the original Tigers, like say the first generation Astro, like a concourse level, like one that's like really in pristine condition, what will that go for?
So this, if it was in pristine. Yeah, so obviously the all-wheel drive is what people want, and this is not. This is a two-wheel drive. And so I would say if you had this in the two-wheel drive version, like in really nice shape, you might get into the 12s, 14s, somewhere in there.
Okay.
You can still, people will find them under 10.
Yep.
But if you put it up, if it was in good shape, over 10 probably.
And what about the all-wheel drive?
Those are starting to push 20.
Really?
Close to 20, yeah. It depends on, and sometimes you'll see them. It's hard to, you see what they're for sale for. You don't always see what they sell for.
You wonder if for 10 grand you could just convert it to
an all-wheel drive.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's old enough to where, I don't know. It's one of these things is, I've gotten older and gotten a little bit, like hopefully at some point I'll have a little bit more money to where you can kind of start to step up in these sorts of purchases. You realize how much better it is to have something that like actually is functioning.
Boy, that's the truth. Buy the best one you can.
Yeah.
Buy the best one you can afford. It always costs more to fix them than it does to just buy them at market value.
Well, and I've always been, I love Vanigans, and I've had 3 of those, and I've never had like a horrible one, but like, everyone bitches and moans about like these restored ones that go for $30-some-odd thousand, and there's part of me that's like, if I ever have the money,
might have cost more than that to restore it.
Yeah, well, especially in time.
Yeah.
But they're, again, it's still Vanigan, so it's still kind of not very reliable in a lot of ways. But yeah, I would like to have like, nicer vehicles at some point.
Sure.
Probably never newer vehicles unless we end up into the electric sphere. But
so do you think this vehicle has? So why the Tiger van then over a Vanigan? Just because it was something different, or you like the obscurity of it, or they were starting to rise in popularity, so you kind of like wanted to get ahead of the curve as of them?
It wasn't that well thought out. It just I knew that they were rare. Why? Because I was just looking for something. I'd sold the vans and was looking for something that could replace that. And I sold the vans for various reasons. The last one, the engine blew on a rod. Actually went through the entire engine.
Through a rod?
Through a rod. Actually, your brother was on that trip.
Oh, in the Vanigan?
He was in the Vanigan. And, we were leaving Crater Lake. And,
always wanted to go.
Blew the van up.
Nice.
And I was able to sell it for more than I paid for it after driving it for 3 years.
Amazing.
Granted, it's worth more now, but it didn't run. And so I had it towed to Bend, AAA from there, and Bend is a good 3.5 hours from Portland, 4 hours from Portland.
Yeah, AAA Gold.
No.
Oh
no. I was only about 40 miles from Bend at the time when that happened.
Oh. But did he pay for it?
What's that?
The towing.
No.
Oh.
They towed it.
Oh, even on regular AAA?
Yeah.
You must have better AAA out there. In the...
And so, actually, I might have used my insurance.
A lot of credit cards will actually cover it.
Yeah.
It's neither here nor there.
1 second, just need to check the word thing. Okay. Good to go. So, on the Vanigan front, that blew up that last one, and then it got towed to Old Volk's home, a really sweet old dude who's got all he does is Volkswagens, just outside Bend, basically in Bend. Great dude, really great dude. Yeah. It's just him, kind of a local, famous on the West Coast, and he sat there for 1.5 years. He was, he kind of wanted to put a new engine in it. The issue was it was a standard transmission or automatic transmission, and for me it was pristine. It was a 91 Vanigan. That one was a 91. Yeah, I think it was a 91. And inside was in great shape. Didn't have a camper. It was just the standard. I don't know how we got sucked onto the Vanigan train here, but it was an automatic transmission, which I just have no interest in, especially on those. They're prone to having issues, and they're really expensive to deal with, and just
yeah, it's a double feature of being not only like a stylistic or just fun thing, but also a reliability thing.
Yeah, and so it just wasn't. I wasn't in a place to be like, okay, this is the van that I'm going to restore, and it wasn't the van to restore, so I got rid of it. Anyways, onto the ProVan for all the reasons that I said before. Jack and her friend just drove this thing across the country after it basically sat for the last year plus, and they lost the rear differential in South Dakota. And granted, they couldn't find a new part for it because it's such an old car, but it being an Astro, the auto shop was able to find a rear differential from a junkyard, and they had them on their way the next day.
Amazing.
And had that, I pulled over with flown something in a Vanigan in South Dakota, they would have been like, what is this thing? They, as simple as those Vanigan engines are taught to be, for your typical mechanic, that just isn't the case. It's harder to find parts, and
yeah.
I mentioned the fluid thing already, but for some reason that really trips people.
The coolant?
They just take a different type of coolant than a normal vehicle.
Can't throw your Prestone in it?
No. Well,
do they have coolant, or they're not air cooled?
So they were air cooled until 84.5.
Okay.
And then they became water cooled after that. I never had a air cooled, only a water cooled.
Yep.
And so some people are diehard on the.
Yeah, well, just like Porsches.
Yeah. And so, and they're known to have major head gasket issues and yada yada, whatever. Yeah. But back to the ProVan, yeah. So, thing's pretty janky. It's kind of funny. Jack just drove it across the country. Because we don't have a vehicle here, we rented a minivan to get here. Great COVID rates at the beginning of COVID. And decided that we wanted to take a month to get back. I had this thing sitting, so it was like, let's see if we can make it work. I expect that we're going to break down at least once on the way. You just
something's going to happen.
Something's going to happen. We're already facing some sort of battery leakage. I don't know, something's pulling from somewhere. I have no idea what it is. Sometimes it's really slow, and sometimes it happens somewhat fast.
And this does have a dual battery system?
Yeah, there's no second battery in it right now. But yeah, battery can go back here, and then, when you're running, there's basically a switch in the engine, basically a little solenoid, and, when that vehicle's actually running, it will send battery, or power to both batteries, from the alternator.
So then you can just switch that off.
Yeah, it will only charge it when the key's in ignition.
Okay.
Or, I don't know if it's when the key's in the ignition or when it's on. I think it's when the key's in the ignition.
But it won't drain your battery.
Correct.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, and then there's not one that's what I kind of maybe thought it was, but there wasn't a battery in here
it's
anymore.
It's sending power to the solenoid anyway, or just dead power's leaking out or something.
Yeah. I have no idea what's causing it, but I think I'm going to buy a little solar panel trickle charger and just have it hooked onto it when we're sitting. And so I'm gonna order one of those and just have it.
Oh, they have solar powered trickle chargers?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I gotta get me one of those.
Yeah, it's pretty sweet. It's like you can get them all the way. There's a handful of sizes, but you can either and I actually haven't investigated to see. You know how your lighter switch on some vehicles, or your what do they call that? DC
Cigarette lighter.
Cigarette lighter. On some vehicles, you can pull power off of that.
When older vehicles.
When it's not on.
Yep.
And if that's the case, this trickle charger, you can just plug it directly into that, and then you put it up on the dashboard.
And it'll go backwards. Yeah.
And it will go into the battery. But if you don't have that, you got to hook it up to the actual battery and put it on your hood. Not quite as ideal, obviously. Because, I mean, you're getting better sun, but a little more elements.
Sure.
And anything from you're ordering off Amazon or whatever. I don't a whole lot of stock into. But yeah, these things were built. To my knowledge, they were all built with the full camper. You know, wasn't like back to the Vanigans where there was various options. Basically all of the ones that I've seen have looked pretty much identical to this.
So this is all factory. It's like they had a little wood shop making these things out of particle board, these shelves.
Well, and to the
very rudimentary, but like very functional.
You know,
your TP in there.
Wondering if this thing had ever rolled over. I mean, I remember I looked at, cause again, the 70,000.
Rolled over? Oh, the odometer, not the van.
Yeah. Looks like it's been rolled over. The 70,000 things, or whatever it is, 73,000 miles on there, you know, you would think maybe it rolled over. But everything I've looked at from, you know, because I've got some records from back to like 15 years ago, and there was never anything above that 50-60 mark.
Yep.
Not to mention, you look at the fabric, you're like, it feels like no one's ever sat in this thing.
Yep.
But it's, you know, worn to shit.
Yeah, it's just a little jankified. And obviously some of this stuff, it's all particle board. It's like pretty
right.
cheaply made.
Well, that's why people tear it out and put in something better. And people, you know, like it's built with this to have a shower in it. And
yeah, let's talk about the shower.
And a toilet.
I guess we should put the camper up maybe, and then can you put it up from in here?
Yeah, you have to put it up
from
okay. Inside.
Would you mind demonstrating?
I might need your help.
Okay.
So, yeah, I would probably need your help.
Okay. Here, we can set the camera down.
But I can show you really quick the shower bay.
Yeah, so here's the shower bay.
No one has used this. Most people that own these don't use the shower portion.
No, you got to understand it'll go up a little higher when it's in there. But there's a toilet that comes with this too.
Yeah,
right?
A toilet sits right in here and goes directly into the drain, and then you've got potential for, you know, gray water, brown water, and then fresh water tanks in the bays around the outside of the van, in addition to propane.
So it's amazing how you have water. I see there's a cable hookup over here for your TV, for your cable TV.
Mm-hmm.
It's really got, for how compact it is, it's got everything. You got your little inverter over there. And what's this down here?
This is a fridge.
You got a fridge.
Yeah. I think that this thing can run off of propane.
Ooh, look at that. It's even like the little slide out there, the custom made end of the cabinet. It's really clever.
Yeah, and this thing can run off of electric or gas. Now, again, I've never utilized any of this stuff, so we'll see how much of it we attempt to use on this trip and how much of it we don't. But I'm going to be working this whole trip.
So you're going to need power. Well, power's the easy thing, though,
yeah,
right?
The power I'm not too worried about. We'll get that figured out. But so this will be kind of the mobile command center back here. Although you're not supposed to be sitting in these seats
while it's moving. But this seat does flip around, correct?
This one does, yeah. Yep.
So you'd say, you told me in this shower, most people just end up throwing crap back here? Yeah,
and that's what we'll do, it'll be storage. But yeah, oftentimes they'll even pull the fiberglass base out. And
so where did the shower head go?
I believe, so you see how there's that Velcro little stack there?
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, and so you could there was I think water access comes up through the camper, and I've actually never seen a shower, and I've only seen a handful of these things, but I've never seen a shower in one.
So do you shower? Is it like a wet room where you have the toilet? You sit on the toilet and take a shower?
It's like the toilet can come out.
Yeah.
Or go in.
So you have to put the toilet out when you take a shower.
I think so.
I guess you could store it under the seat here.
Yeah. And I'm certainly not an expert on these things. You know, there are people that are real into these.
Oh, I'm sure.
And, probably would have behooved me to like watch a refresher video on, you know, some of the.
For the average person who's never seen one though, it's a good little introduction. So was this always here? Now that I'm looking at it, or is this just like it's a retrofitted piece to keep this up?
Yeah.
Can you tell me anything about the front of it?
Yeah, I mean, it's relatively original outside of someone sticking a...
Standard Astro interior, basically.
Yeah, this seat is got, you know, a little rougher. And in fact, someone put this on, and I think it's doing more damage than good, because it's, like, stuck on where the main rip is.
Yeah.
But again, you can
very
see,
nice
like...
seats.
Yeah, like... It's... The wear and tear on the actual materials is very low.
Yeah, headliner looks amazing.
Yeah, headliner, and you know, this was like a super. It seems like prior to the owner I got it from, who I would not call a hippie, there'd been a lineage of hippies that have owned it, ruining it one step at a time with their various paint schemes. And I guess I'm hopping right in there.
We're just the latest in that trend.
Yeah. And so, funny enough, Jack was driving this across country and posted a photo of her and her friend with the van or of the van. I don't know. I miss out on the social media thing sometimes. And someone was like, "Hey, that's my van." And so it turns out a friend of hers from Burning Man reality had previously owned this van, and I instantly I'm like, "You need to find out if he's the one that painted it."
Yep.
Like,
the brown.
Is this the fucking asshole that painted this thing? And turns out he was not, although he did do the gold geometric, sacred geometry stuff.
Yep. So you got to figure it's been painted at least 4 times, minimum of 4, from the factory.
Yeah.
And then there was a mural under it, and then the brown, and then us. So like bare minimum of 4, maybe more.
Well, and back to our conversation at the beginning about like finding the right thing, like when I bought, and that's what's prevented me from like wanting to get into this thing, right? Is I've thought about letting Daniel, who's a good friend of mine and a carpenter, very, you know, master carpenter, kind of take this thing and do what he wants with it and turn it into like, you know, a nice camper van. And at the end of the day, the fact that the outside is so shitty just kills my motivation to do anything significant, because there's just I'll never get my money back out of it.
Yep.
Not even close, because no one wants.
There's just a low ceiling for where it's at, for what you can do to it to make it really nice.
If the outside was original and in good shape, like I would not hesitate to put a bunch of money into the interior. But with the outside, I mean, it's like at least a $2,500 paint job, if not more, to bring it to. You're
taking it down to bare metal, and there's some like body work probably to be done on that quarter panel back there.
Yeah.
But it's a perfect size. It's a really nice size where it's super manageable to drive, but yet you have so much packed in a small.
I mean, it's just an Astro van. They didn't do anything to it besides.
Well, it's got to be wider on the back.
Widen it, but everything underneath is. They didn't do anything.
The bolts holding the bumper onto like the rear sort of subframe, I guess you would call it, are pretty great.
I might need to take a quick break.
Yeah, well, let's take a quick break. Let's put the top up, and then we'll.
Okay. So obviously there's this latch situation here, all on a thread. Some of them jankier than others. This one's pretty bent.
That's it, huh? Just 4?
2 on the front.
Of course. And with the front sailing up.
Well, I'll have to go in through this way now that I locked it. So I typically do the backside first. Might need your hand.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see.
Let me put this over here.
So we're just gonna, on the rails, we're just gonna go up. Yep. And then
Lock it.
yeah. Yep. And this is the more difficult side. Because this thing's so warped.
There's just a button that happens in there.
Yeah.
I hope that sewn onto the rail here. Oh yeah. Transformation. We're standing up. That guy in. All that's holding this on. It's a little button.
Yeah.
So now here you have your beautiful bed. Sleeps too comfortably.
Yeah, so the mattress that we have for this thing is a little too small. We'll probably, our first stop is New Jersey, and we'll probably use the local Craigslist there to see if we can source something that's a little more appropriate. We don't want any less bedding than we do. Yeah, two main issues that started in my possession. Maybe it happened before, but it wasn't. Neither of them are that bad. But we get a little moisture in that corner, which there isn't any right now because it's been dry. And this corner, you can see the warpness of this, although that's both from heat and just it being jank. This is a very common thing that people replace on these even when they don't like redo.
Is there like a kit or they just do it?
No, but I think that someone's put like a plan on the internet. So yeah, we're getting moisture in that corner, and I don't think it's from the roof itself. I think it's coming from the outdoor clasp situation that we were looking at. And so I tightened all the threads before I put it back on, but we were still getting moisture. So we'll see as this, like I said, spend very little time with this thing. So
yeah, this is
about to spend 4 to 6 weeks in it is going to be very interesting.
Yeah, the proving grounds.
And I know it's like pretty common thing that people will get for these. You can have like a motor-based crank that they just put. I think it's usually sets here. It might even be that's what this is for. I bet it is actually. And it cranks the thing up versus doing it the way that we just did it. And then what it's missing, just need to get some P-cord or something, is you can see it's actually still attached here. From here to here, when you close it up, you don't want it getting pinched out. And so
oh yeah,
there's supposed to be a strap that goes from here to here and from that side to that side that pulls the whole thing in together. Obviously, varying degrees of jankiness going on here. The vinyl is completely gone on this side. Still have full vinyl over here.
What do you mean by that?
Like,
oh, I see. Yeah,
Yeah.
the covering here.
so in theory, you could have this open with a little bit of rain
And it'd still be okay.
and still be okay. This side, probably want to close the flap.
Very nice.
Yeah, and then haven't really used any of this stuff. The people I bought it from had used it, so in theory it all functions. We'll probably try out at least the stove.
Now, can you hook this up to a portable water, or do you need like a water hookup?
So it
Like
has
a tank
it
in
has
there?
a water tank. You can, if you wanted to, if say you were like at a campground or something, you can have a water line in come into this whole thing. Similarly, you can have the gray water tank going into something, and etc. In our situation, if we ever got that far, we would only ever have gray water. We wouldn't need brown water because we're not trying to brown in here. Yeah, this is the old Tiger ProVan, and the whole thing's pretty beat up. I mean, this is what takes the brunt. I mean, up and down and up and down and up
Sure.
and down, and
It is pretty light. Like it goes up easy.
yeah. I mean, that was the idea with these whole things, because they didn't want to beef them up. And so that's why it's all fiberboard. It's all pretty light, and you know, I think, I don't know what if I ever actually like wanted to fix this one up or get a nicer one. You know, do you really need, like, would you rather have this space to be able to have your own setup of some sort versus?
Yeah, it depends how like really self-sufficient and like insular you want to be.
Yeah, because I mean, in theory, I mean, like, in my mind, I kind of almost would rather just have a camp stove. You know, even if it was one of the Coleman fold up, and then you don't have a stove here all the time. And yeah, it's kind of back to the Vanigan thing. Like if I was ever to have a Westfalia, I would probably want one not with the internal camper in it, internal kitchen in it. It's just a lot of weight too.
Yeah, for sure.
So, and someone's added this vinyl plank flooring in here, although it might be engineered hardwood, but
pretty nice.
Vinyl plank. Yeah, it's okay. I mean, it wouldn't have been my choice, but it kind of matches the maroon motif. And so yeah, this is where we will be sleeping for good chunks of the next month and a half. And then you've got your little
oh, twisty. Plenty of daylight.
Yeah, it's pretty good, right? But yeah, somewhere along the journey, probably our first stop in New Jersey, we'll grab a battery for this portion and start to play with, see how and what works.
Are these on-off switches for specific things?
Yeah, so my understanding is like this specifically, like that's for this.
Oh, okay.
So that you can, you know, if you need to plug in here. But there's various shut-offs so that you can have power only going to certain aspects of it.
And this one, do you think that's for the crank?
Good question. I think that's for the light.
Yes.
It's got a little camp light on the opposite side here.
Okay,
so,
right, yep.
You know, some people have them where there's a canopy that hangs on the side of the thing that comes out. You can kind of have your little like camper reality.
Love it.
But yeah, we've got probably the jankiest thing on the van of all of the janky things is the broken window, which was this way when I purchased it. The couple before me lost a few backpacks in Colorado, and they replaced this back panel at the same time both of these windows got broken.
Yeah, tell us that story. Someone broke in both windows and only used one?
Yeah, I think that they were trying to get something out through here and couldn't get it out, and so they broke the back window. And the couple had this one replaced with PVC, and you can see the
not quite perfect.
Well, I think it's actually there's room for it to move over a little, but the seal is completely fucked on it. So, I think for me that would be the thing that I would prefer to get fixed first.
Be sealed in.
Is to have this window replaced, and to do the gaskets kind of on all the windows, honestly. I think it would help with the noise that we talked about before, but also just, I mean, how are we going to make this work? Jack, as I think you saw in the beginning, they had aluminum paint tray that they used over it, which they said actually worked pretty well. Issue there being, I don't really want to put duct tape on your beautiful new paint job.
Beauty of it is you can always paint over it.
It is white.
It's a standard color you can get anywhere.
Yeah, and I did notice while we were driving that this was kicking open, and that's why it just wasn't fully kicked in. But yeah, one thing that's curious about this is there often is a step here.
To get up into bed?
Yeah.
Yeah, what's that maneuver like?
Are you asking me to do the maneuver?
No, you don't have to. If you'd like to.
It's just an up and over. I mean, that's the thing. Without the mattress in there, it's a little awkward because it's just a wooden ledge here. And so when we put the mattress pad in, it will be, close.
Because you want to be able to close it, right? And not take the mattress out?
Yeah, exactly. So we'll probably just get a a piece of like memory foam or something.
Mhm.
There's a, you know, this thing is out here right now,
Oh yeah.
but its width is much less than this, a few inches less than this. And like I said before, we don't want to reduce our amount of.
Mhm. Plus, where are the dogs gonna sleep?
Yeah, so
Two dogs also on this voyage.
Yeah,
Pretty big dogs.
pretty big dogs. We have to make a decision what our plan is here. I really like the idea of having this. I don't know if we'll drive with it in.
Mhm.
It can go in here with the rest of our junk or wherever. We can put it on the floor. But the dogs are pretty. We'll see what it looks like when we get this thing packed. We got a lot of shit to bring back. My hope is that most of the stuff that we're not utilizing on a day-to-day can go in here.
Shower, the old.
Yeah. And then probably store some things under here. But I think we'll be able to get a dog bed here and a dog bed here.
There you go.
And they're both pretty, especially Coyote is very road trip friendly.
Mhm.
All she wants is to be with you. And so the second you start getting down the road, she basically goes to sleep. Harriet is still great on road trips, but she wants a little bit more entertainment. And so I have a feeling that Harriet will spend a good amount of her time in between the two front seats. But I would imagine by the end of the trip, Harriet will have tried to at least jump into the bed. We'll see if she actually makes it. So yeah. I don't even know what, it's going to be a big adventure beyond just the fact of driving this shitbox. What's going to end up probably being closer to 4,500 miles is getting to know what works and what doesn't work. Like, no idea if these lights work once we put the second battery in and get that going, and we'll have a better sense of all of it. And hopefully we don't end up in any, like, torrential downpours.
Let's see.
But I mean, worst case scenario also, if we ever need to, like, if we're in a pinch and we don't want to pop top, camping or something,
Sure.
we can make it work in this bed.
That is a nice feature. You have potentially two beds.
And for more stealthier urban situations
Sure.
as well. You can just keep it, still looks janky, but it doesn't look like a camper.
Yep. Where do you plan to park? Where do you plan to? Yeah,
so it depends on how safe we make it with the van. Like I'm assuming, like we talked about before, we're gonna lose some days with some auto repair pauses. But our first stop will probably be in a friend's driveway, and so that's not a big deal. And then we're gonna be in a national park.
There you go.
And so in that case, that will be the first big test, because we'll be away from electricity and away from people. We're going to Shenandoah National Park, which is pretty big and not super visited this time of year, is my understanding. Although during COVID times, everything is a little more visited. Hopefully we don't lose power there. Hopefully the battery makes it through that portion of the trip. And then, various campgrounds, and then probably people's driveways. Just kind of depends on, we've got a trip planned to New Orleans. We'll do some urban camping there.
Nice.
We need to come up with we'll figure something out, something for the windows. Obviously, I wish that we had had a little bit more time for planning this portion of it. All the energy's been focused on all the other buttoning up everything else in life.
You guys are still in the van?
We just got in the van.
You've been in the van
Yeah. What do you mean? We just got in the van.
a long time.
Yeah, 15 minutes.
Oh, wow.
I think this is good.
Cool.
Well, thank you. Vaya con Dios.
Go Blazers.
I also have my solidarity.
Portland, baby. Oh wait, now you gotta help me put it down.